Our body has the ability to defend and repel almost every disease that we are afraid of. And foods that we eat, that we choose, can activate those health defenses and make our defenses work better, make us more resistant to disease, make us more resilient to being able to fighting disease, and help us bounce back into the health that we all desire. And if you're taking medicines, they can make your medicines work even better if you actually feed your health defenses. And this is a different way of thinking about diet, because it's not just about weight loss, although you can also lose weight in the same way. It's about it's less about losing weight, and it's more about gaining health from wherever you're starting your health journey.
Welcome back to the show, Dr. William Li. I am so excited to kick off this year with you in particular, because as I was mentioning to you, I think so many people at the top of the year, one of their main focuses is their health, possibly losing weight, or just honestly living a more vibrant life. And I feel the way we do that, honestly, health comes first. And so you are the expert to talk deeply about this. And in our previous episode, we went deep into how to eat to beat our diet. And we went deep into revving up our metabolism, losing fat, and really how to maximize that. But in this episode, I wanted you to come back because I want to go into your previous book, which is about eat to beat disease. And I think this is a big topic these days because, as we know, it's so prevalent right now that so many people have autoimmune disorders. Obviously, cancer's on the rise. I mean, I think each and every one of us knows somebody that has cancer, and it's just really devastating. Ironically, I just got my mammogram yesterday. And so there's so many things we could go into having these conversations, but it's really something we need to be more aware of. And that's why I love the work you're doing and all the advice you're giving, because it's really revealing these things that how we could actually be in the driver's seat of our own health. And it really starts yesterday. So we'll go deep into all that of how we could really, again, be the CEO of our own health. So welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Erica. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I think that as we all go into the next phase of our lives, we are looking for how to take charge and be able to do the things that we enjoy in the way that we find most satisfying. It keeps us happy. And the great news is that health is obviously one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves. We can do that without suffering, and we don't have to sacrifice things. We can actually do it in a joyful sort of way.
Absolutely. And ironically, as we talk about eat to beat disease, this is one of my focuses literally at the top of this year. For those that don't know, I'm sure you've heard of this. I'm doing the AIP diet, which is the auto-inflammation. Am I saying it right? Anti-inflammation paleo diet. And the reason why I'm doing this, because I actually had in the last few months a flare up of my scalp psoriasis, and it's out of control. Anybody that has any type of autoimmune disorder, let's say psoriasis, eczema, or anything of that, it really drives you crazy. And it's you're just overwhelmed and stressed just because you're dealing with this inflammation in your body. And because I know so much about health, I know I have to start with my diet, because there's something causing this to flare up, whether it be stress, whether it be a food sensitivity, whether it be something, that I don't even know of. So that's where I'm starting. That's how I kicked off my new year. So I'm very aware of the foods that cause inflammation and then the foods that actually are anti-inflammatory foods. So I'm focusing a lot on that. And I think anybody that wants to take their health either to the next level, or they are trying to heal an ailment that is affecting their health today, what you will share today is exactly addressing this. So let's just kick off there. So eat to beat disease. And disease could be, again, so many different things as far as it goes to cancer. Uh, what is your thoughts on diets in general? Because I know so many people hear, the confusion between vegan, not vegan, paleo, high protein, no lectins, low carb, or whatever. So I'm just curious, what do you recommend to eat to prevent disease and just overall health?
Yeah, Erica, you're asking a great question about diets because, like probably everyone listening or watching, I have for years been confused about diets and not really clear on which ones are better to take, which ones are legitimate, which ones are bogus, and there's a lot wrapped up in the idea of going on a diet. And here's what I've actually discovered is that when it comes to health, there's no one right answer that fits for everybody. And so even though there's many different choices and many different programs and plans of how to actually try to get your body in an optimal place or a better place, the fact of the matter is that there's no prescription diet that's going to work for every single person. So I have a different way of thinking about it that I want to introduce and maybe get people to consider, which is that when it comes to health, your body actually has everything inside it to be able to get you there. And let me explain. I'm a medical doctor, an MD. I trained in internal medicine, and I've been involved in some of the best teaching hospitals in the world, at Harvard and at Mass General Hospital, and I also have been involved with developing new biotech treatments for cancer, complications of diabetes, and even vision loss. And one of the things that the medical community has forgotten about, that was the only tool that we had as doctors before, like 100 years ago, was that food is a tool in our toolbox. And it's a tool that patients can actually do something about. The control of diet is not something that you go to the doctor's office or to a hospital to get. God forbid you would actually rely on the hospital for your food recommendations, but we all make those decisions ourselves. And so this is a very, very important tool for our health. And when it comes to food in our health, it's not just about the food. And this is where the diet comes in, because whether you're looking at paleo, intermittent fasting, Whole 30, or there's a whole slew of diets, all of which could be, they have their own legitimacy. It's a matter of whether it actually works for you and whether it's the right thing for you to apply into your own life. For me, it's not just about the food or the diet, it's about how your body responds to how you feed it. And this is something I learned as somebody who's been involved with developing cancer treatments. Here we are working at the tip of the spear of research to figure out, well, how do we target this element of cancer? How do we target this aspect of autoimmune disease? Or how do we target this aspect of diabetes for treating disease? And in fact, the body already has that answer, because if you're grappling with a disease, and I get asked this all the time as a doctor, Dr. Lee, why did I get breast cancer? Or why did
Mm.
I develop Hashimoto's? Or why did I develop diabetic ulceration? It's a question that I try to my best to do my best to provide an answer for a patient, for example. But inside, when I go home, when I go back to my office, the question I always ask is, you know, there's a deeper question here, which is the deeper question being, how come we all don't get sick more often? How come we all don't develop autoimmune disease? How come we don't all develop cancer and at a younger age? And the answer that I discovered to that question is because our body is hardwired to protect us from diseases
Hmm.
throughout our entire lives. We're born with health defenses that were formed when we were still in our mom's womb. Our first breath, these health defenses are firing in all cylinders to protect us, and they do a pretty good job, for most of our lives until our health defenses go down, our shields go down, our defenses are weakened, and then because our defenses are weakened, the enemy can sneak into our body, or our body fails in some way, and our defenses are unable to protect us, and that's really when we start grappling with diseases. And so the really, really interesting thing is our body has the ability to defend and repel almost every disease that we are afraid of. And foods that we eat, that we choose, can activate those health defenses and make our defenses work better, make us more resistant to disease, make us more resilient to being able to fighting disease, and help us bounce back into the health that we all desire. And if you're taking medicines, they can make your medicines work even better if you actually feed your health defenses. And this is a different way of thinking about diet, because it's not just about weight loss, although you can also lose
Right.
weight in the same way. It's about it's less about losing weight and it's more about gaining health from wherever you're starting your health journey.
Oh, that's so perfectly said. I love that you say that because I think a lot of people focus on this weight loss and really like imagine if you feel healthy or you're reducing inflammation in your body, you naturally, honestly, when you reduce inflammation, you actually do lose weight. Kind of goes hand in hand and people don't realize how inflamed they are. And so I think it's a really big topic because the leading cause of disease is inflammation. So how could we eat to reduce inflammation, and also what things can we eat to help fight off inflammation? So if we could talk about that first and foremost, what do you think people are missing most in their diet that they're not even thinking about that actually helps them live longer, be healthier, potentially look thinner or whatever it may be, whatever their desire is?
Easy answer to that. All right, based on some real cutting edge research. And if I had to give anyone one piece of critical advice to get their health to the next level, I would say you need to feed your gut health, which means that you need to feed your gut microbiome. And I'll tell you why. Our gut microbiome, the healthy bacteria that lives inside our gut, is one of our body's 5 health defense systems. That's how important it is. Our gut bacteria actually defend us against disease. They're about where. So first of all, where do they live? Okay, because the gut starts from the mouth and goes all the way to the tailpipe, and so where do our gut bacteria live? They're not dispersed everywhere. They live in a part of our gut called the cecum. That's spelled CECUM. It's part of the large bowel, the colon, and it's actually exactly where the appendix actually is. And in fact, we used to think in medicine that the appendix is just this useless vestigial organ. You don't need to have it. A lot of people have their appendix out if it gets inflamed. We're beginning to think about the importance of the appendix because it's right where the gut microbiome lives. It's where 39 trillion bacteria live. And there's some evidence now that our appendix is actually air traffic control for our gut health, our gut bacteria. Now, what do those 39 trillion bacteria do in our gut? It's really amazing. They help to lower inflammation. Our gut bacteria lowers inflammation better than aspirin or ibuprofen could possibly do, better than steroids could possibly do. And they do
Hmm.
it in a way without compromising and putting us at risk for other complications of medication. Number one. Number two, how does what else does our gut bacteria do? It raises our immunity shields. It helps us actually become more resistant to infection. Now, combine those together: less inflammation, better protection against infection. And by the way, it's not just invaders from the outside being infected from bacteria and viruses. It also prevents invaders from inside our body, like cancer cells, from growing up. So, a good immune system with lower inflammation is directed by our gut bacteria. What's another thing that the gut bacteria does, which makes it the number one priority for me to recommend to somebody who wants less inflammation and overall better overall health? Our gut bacteria also is in charge of our mental health and wellness, our emotional health. All right. You might be strong, you might look great, but if you feel crummy up here in your brain, in your mind, you're going to feel crummy. You're not going to be performing at your best, and you're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do. So, how does our gut bacteria control mental wellness? Now, you've probably heard, many people have heard about the gut brain axis. I want to give people a simple way of thinking about it. Our gut bacteria, your gut bacteria, text messages your brain every day to send signals to let our brain cells know what neurotransmitters to release. What are some of those neurotransmitters? Well, if you take an antidepressant. Okay, if you take Paxil or an SSRI, you'll know words like serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. These are the neurotransmitters that our brain releases to make us feel good, make us feel rewarded, make us feel listened to. All right, by our community. These are the things that are really important for us as individuals. Guess what? Our gut bacteria basically helps our brain release those hormones in ways to make us feel good every single day. So, if I didn't have to tell you more and just said that one thing that you need to do is to feed your gut bacteria, our health defense, are one of our five health defenses, and our gut bacteria lowers inflammation, improves immunity, and improves mental health and wellness. That's all I need to tell you on this podcast episode. There's so much more I could tell you, but now we can then get to, so what are some of the foods that you need to be able to eat
Right.
in order to have the gut do the heavy lifting for your health?
Absolutely. Okay, so I completely agree. And as I was talking about, my scalp psoriasis that I've had for I think over 10 years, but it doesn't flare up so often. And the fact that I have it flaring up when I eat so healthy, I take care of myself. I know a lot about health. I know a lot about gut health. And honestly, my gut has been actually phenomenal up until about October. Something just changed. And I have a sense that it's a food sensitivity. Something I was eating very often is now creating these antibodies to basically cause inflammation, possibly leaky gut, possibly SIBO. I'm not sure. So I'm going to do
Hmm.
functional testing to find out because I'm all about getting to the root because I know there is a root reason why there's inflammation happening. And
Yeah,
I do 1000% know it's in my gut. And as you talked about the importance of gut health. And so I would love to talk about that because as I said, I eat a lot of healthy food. I know like all your list of stuff I drink and I eat and all the things, but I do believe there's a food sensitivity that developed. And so if we could talk about that, because I'm curious, because again, all the foods you recommend, is it possible that sometimes we do have these food sensitivities and that could then be causing inflammation that then leads to disease?
absolutely. And this is sort of the part of the mystery of life because we're all navigating through the world, both in terms of physical location, physical place, but
Right.
also experiences in life and exposures during those experiences to different things that can influence our body and even influence the makeup of our gut. So diet isn't the only thing that can influence our gut health, for example, and our immunity and inflammatory system. Where we live, what we experience, what we're exposed to, those can all make a difference. And by the way, our brain also text messages our gut back. So there's a
So
response.
stress, of
So
course.
stress can actually influence our gut bacteria. Not getting enough sleep actually has now been shown to influence these neurotransmitters and can influence our gut as well. And so again, I think that every individual's personal journey on a day to day, week to week, month to month level can make a big difference. Even if you're eating completely healthy, you can still have perturbations or damage, frankly, to your gut bacteria in ways that you don't even appreciate. So, the typical thing is like, I eat healthy, I exercise, and I know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm still sick. What the heck happened? And what I'm telling you is that if you go back and really do the forensics of how your life has been, including stress, and by the way, Erica, who hasn't been stressed in the last year? I mean, I think that, if you live on planet Earth, there is some reason to be stressed by something. All right.
Right.
And 2023 was a year definitely that, we're all happy to step away from because it's been a stressful year for all kinds of reasons. So I would say I would point to what you said as the exact next step for someone like you. I eat healthy, I exercise, I know better, I'm still sick. Let's get to the root cause. So, if you were to actually do a functional medicine assessment of your gut microbiome, and by the way, this is possible to do now. You can actually go and send your poop away for an analysis. There's a lot of companies that actually do this. I don't get paid by any of them, but I will tell you that by having your gut microbiome analyzed, that is sort of like going to the doctor and having a blood draw. How are your electrolytes? How is your kidney function? How is your liver function? Finally, we actually have the ability to measure functionally for our functional health. How's our gut doing? All right. This is something that your doctor probably definitely wasn't trained in medical school on what
Right.
to do. But now we as consumers have the ability to go out there and have these systems of analysis for our gut bacteria to tell us, number one, do we have a bad actor in our gut microbiome that snuck in somehow? All right. It's not about somebody's fault, but just like anything else, occasionally you can have a bad neighbor move into the neighborhood, and cause problems. And so is
Right.
that's what's going on in your gut, or potentially could you not have enough good guys? Maybe you're missing some of the good gut bacteria because of stress or some other factors that have happened in your life that you're not even aware of, and you're missing some good guys. So could it be that you have bad guys present that need to be addressed, or not enough good guys, or maybe both? All right. So and also something that a lot of people, those of us who work in the gut microbiome, are beginning to realize is that the the diversity, the number of different types of healthy bacteria also make a big difference. Just like any other community, the more diverse our community is, the healthier the community is. Lots of different ideas, lots of skill sets, lots of different values all coming together to make a overall healthier community. It's the same thing. You want lots of diversity in your gut bacteria. So one of the things from a gut microbiome test that you look for is your diversity score. Or do you have a
Mm.
low diversity score, which means, most of your bacteria are all the same? Or do you have a high bacterial diversity, which just means you've got wonderful diversity, and so your body, like all those different gut bacteria, are doing different things for your health. So these are just some of the results that you're going to be getting back, or anybody testing your gut bacteria that goes back, in order to be able to give them a clue, shine a flashlight into what might be going on, and from that to be able to actually then come up with a plan to get rid of some of the bad bacteria, bring back better bacteria, improve your gut diversity, and all of those things can be addressed, at least in part, with making specific types of dietary choices.
Yeah. And I think based on, again, you recommending that one thing that we should focus on out of the 5 systems is our gut system. I encourage everybody to, even if you think you're healthy, again, I am healthy. I feel healthy. I feel very vibrant and high energy. But again, I'm still having inflammation. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look further into why this is being caused, even if I feel right, because that's the level I want my health to be at. And I know chronic inflammation is not good. And so I do challenge everybody to look further into this. Like you said, there's many brands where you could take tests, you could get a functional medicine doctor and figure it out from there. But also I want to talk about, of course, your specialty and the food recommendations that maybe if we could start with the top 5 foods that we should remove that do cause inflammation. It's widely known to cause inflammation. And then if we could talk about possibly the 5 foods to add that are anti-inflammatory.
Okay, great. I'm so glad that you wanted to focus on gut and inflammation, because there's so much we can talk about with health. And the 5 health
Yeah.
defenses really span the gamut, from circulation to immunity to stem cells to DNA. But I think gut and immunity and inflammation are such important topics. We should just dive right in
Yeah.
now. So what should you avoid? All right. Uh, Look, it's it's unequivocal, meaning there's no confusion now about the foods that actually cause inflammation. And they're the same foods that you've heard about over and over and over again. But in this context, in this conversation, what you should know is that the foods that clearly can cause inflammation, and if you're inflammatory to begin with, can worsen your inflammation.
Hmm.
um, Sugar sweetened beverages, especially sodas, not just regular sweetened soda, but even diet sodas can also contribute to making inflammation worse. You know why? because the sodas are ultra processed. They contain lots of artificial chemicals and colorings and flavorings. The sugar doesn't do your body's inflammatory system any favors. Okay. And what about the diet part of it? Why is that bad? Well, some of the research that's been coming out in the last year to 2 years has shown that artificial sweeteners, these non-caloric sweeteners that you find in most of the drinks, whether you're talking about the red can or the blue can or any other can,
Or
frankly,
anything sugar
are
free, by the way.
or anything sugar free, including chewing gum, by the way. Okay,
Hmm.
those chemicals which your body doesn't absorb as a carb winds up tumbling down your gut to the cecum where your gut microbiome is, and guess what, you're feeding your gut bacteria those artificial sweeteners. Now, your gut bacteria don't like them. Almost all the research has shown that artificial sweeteners can be harmful to the gut microbiome. Have we figured out exactly how bad? Not yet, but from what I'm seeing as a researcher, it's concerning enough for me to say if you want to work, if you want to steer away from inflammation, stay away from artificial sweeteners in any type of product. Number one.
Agreed.
Number two, ultra processed foods. Again, I'm really trying hard not to hit people over the head with the same old mantra, but I will tell you, if you pick up something from the middle aisle of a store or open up your Amazon delivery for food, and you take a look at the box and you can't pronounce some of the ingredients that are in there and you have no idea what they're there for, that's because a factory made that food in large quantities and to keep it shelf stable and to make it taste the right way and to be able to stabilize the texture of it. They've added stuff in there, and those ultra processed foods as a category are harmful to your gut bacteria. How quickly can it change your gut bacteria? Honestly, pretty quickly, even overnight. Okay.
Mm.
So, in the same way you can eat foods that heal your food and start to heal them overnight, in 12 hours, you can already start seeing some harmful changes from eating ultra processed foods. Now, am I telling you cut out all your favorite snacks and things like that? No, I'm not, because we're all human and we got to do things that bring us joy. And I know, I mean, everyone's going to be everyone's going to be eating and making choices that are not always the healthiest for them. That's okay. Treat yourself every now and then. But what you need to know is that every time you make a decision like that with an ultra processed food, you're probably not doing your gut bacteria any favors. You might even be damaging that neighborhood of that healthy gut bacteria. So, ultra processed food, processed meats. The stuff that we grew up on in school lunches. You go to the deli, you
Hmm.
make those sandwiches, those thin sliced. They might have tasted great when we were a kid. Now we know. Not only is the World Health Organization considering them a class 1 carcinogen, so
Oh,
it
wow.
actually increases your risk of gut cancers. Look, every now and then, if you want to top your pizza with something that you like, do it. But I'm just telling you, if you do this day in and day out, week after week, it is definitely harmful for you. And it also harms your gut bacteria. So those are things that I would say, those three things are things to cut down or cut out if you can, if you're really trying to steer away from inflammation.
Perfect. And so I would love to go into you share so many of your favorite foods that you're just like, this is your health healthy food that is really going to optimize so many different systems. And so I would love to talk about now, what are the anti-inflammatory foods that we should gravitate towards that really help our health?
All right. Now, look, I'm going to confess something. I'm a scientist, so the first thing I think about is what does the science teaching us, and and how does that translate into something practical that everyone can actually to use that information and to make a decision that can be helpful for them. So here's the thing: people like me who are studying food as medicine are beginning to discover the substances, the natural chemicals in food. This is Mother Nature's pharmacy,
Mhm.
pharmacy not with a PH, but pharmacy with an F, meaning you can grow it or it grows, that activates our body's health defenses, including lowering inflammation, including building up our gut bacteria, making them healthier. What are some of those compounds? Now, I could sit here and rattle off a long list of Greek sounding words that your listeners and viewers are not going to be able to take notes on fast enough or memorize, and that's not the point. But those natural chemicals are found in food. So I do want to actually prove to you that we actually know what some of these anti-inflammatory chemicals are. So, for example, and the foods that they're in. So, for example, the sulforaphanes that are found in brassica vegetables like broccoli, bok choy, kale, wasabi. They actually are anti-inflammatory. There's a molecule called chlorogenic acid that's found in coffee that probably many people are drinking every morning. That when you sip that coffee, a lot of people think about the increasing your alertness and the caffeine hit that you actually get, but you're also drinking that chlorogenic acid, which is anti-inflammatory and
Mm.
feeds your gut bacteria and actually boosts your metabolism at the same time. Oh, but wait a minute, chlorogenic acid is found in other foods as well. Like what? Like pears. Okay, pears contain chlorogenic acid, and apple contains chlorogenic acid as well. So again, rather than fixate on a certain food, I would say, hey, guess what? Apples and pears are also winter vegetables. So if you're season, you can buy them all year round. But if it's seasonal and you happen to be in winter and you want to have fall winter foods and apples and pears, that's the season in which you're going to actually have the seasonal foods have highest levels of the chlorogenic acid. Oh, another little tip of the sort of the God in the details. You know, we are now beginning to discover that when it comes to chlorogenic acid, as well as other natural chemicals, organic foods are going to have the highest levels because the plant makes these bioactives like chlorogenic acid as a response to living naturally where there's
Mm.
bugs nibbling on the leaves and the stems of the plants that are making these fruits or seeds. And so when they're making more chlorogenic acids, because in a natural environment with lots of bugs and seeds, they make less of it if you spray them with pesticides because there's less nibbling that goes on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the reasons why making an organic choice is probably better. On top of the fact that some of the chemicals that might get sprayed are very difficult to wash off. Think about apples. There was a study done by the University of Massachusetts in Worcester where they sprayed chemicals onto apples, and they found that 20% of the chemical leached into the skin. You cannot wash that off. All right.
Mm.
So if you eat the skin of the apple, you're going to be eating some of the pesticide. Could be pro-inflammatory. So again, organic is a good choice to get more of the anti-inflammatory natural bioactive, but also less of the potential harmful stuff that comes up. But you want to wash your fruits well in any event. Ellagic acid in strawberries, powerful anti-inflammatory. What else is ellagic acid? Blackberries. Another way, anthocyanins, also a chemical that's anti-inflammatory found in berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, lots of anthocyanins. Oh, what's another substance that's anti-inflammatory? Ascorbic acid, which is also known as vitamin C, present in strawberries, tomatoes, broccoli, red bell peppers, guava, all great sources of ascorbic acid. What does vitamins and citric and citrus fruits as well? What do they do? That ascorbic acid, vitamin C, helps to lower inflammation. And in fact, there was a study done in Japan, in the Miyagi prefecture, in women who are at risk for lupus flares. So they were studying how do you lower the flares, the autoimmune and pro-inflammatory flares from lupus? Well, they found that those women who ate more foods containing vitamin C,
Mm.
strawberries, right, tomatoes, broccoli, red bell peppers, had substantially lower flares because of the anti-inflammatory effects. Now, some of those same plants, by the way, are really good sources of dietary fiber. What does dietary fiber do? It feeds your gut microbiome. Your healthy gut bacteria are delighted to receive dietary fiber that you would actually eat. So when you eat foods with dietary fiber, fiber is a prebiotic. Okay, polyphenols are prebiotics. They make your gut bacteria, healthy gut bacteria, healthier. And when they're healthily fed, they pay us back. The bacteria pay us back by producing short chain fatty acids that are naturally anti-inflammatory, that are dispersed into our bloodstream.
So good. So much right there. One thing I would love to pull out that you didn't mention is one of your favorites, I know, is dark chocolate. And so, talking about cacao, pure form cacao. I don't know. I'm sure you saw this article. I don't know if people listening have also seen this, but I did, and it was something I was not happy to see. So they basically listed all these chocolates that were high in heavy metals, and one of my favorites on there was Hue chocolates, and I used to nib on it every single night, the Hue little gems. And so I was really unhappy to see that it was high in lead. And I drink actually cacao, pure cacao, every single morning. It's one of my most favorite things. And I know this is an anti inflammatory food. So if you could talk about that a little bit, is most of cacao high in heavy metals? Or does it matter what brand you're getting it from, the purity? Like, what should we know about that?
Okay, let's address this head on.
Okay.
Where this all came from. There was a study about 2 years ago that came out in Consumer Reports, which is, their Consumer Reports is a group that actually tests different products, including foods, to figure out which is the best, which is the worst. If you're buying a car, you go to Consumer Reports. If you're looking for a blender, you can go to Consumer Reports. If you're buying chocolate, they did a research study looking at heavy metals in chocolate. Now, that sounds like a big red flag right away. Oh my gosh, heavy metals in chocolate? I'm outraged by it. Well, look, heavy metals are naturally occurring on planet Earth. It's in our soil. Okay, so if you grow in healthy soil, you're going to get some heavy metals that are in there, cadmium, all that kind of stuff that they're actually, and it does get into the plant because the plant absorbs all kinds of nutrients
Right.
from the soil. The problem with chocolate is that they discovered that there are some forms of commercial popular chocolates where the manufacturers back then were sourcing chocolate that had really, really high levels of heavy metals like lead and cadmium, even mercury. You don't want those things to be eating those things. Look, nibble every now and then on a piece of chocolate, no big deal. But what they were finding is that the levels in a commercial bar were exceeding what the safe considered
Mm,
levels are. Now that was a big surprise, right? Like that's pulling the blinders off. Oh my gosh, should I be eating chocolate at all?
right.
All chocolate, all plants are going to have some background of heavy metals. Most of it is not a big deal. Our body can actually take care of it. It's not going to be harmful to us. But when you're actually buying chocolate, what you should know is go to the Consumer Reports, and you can search it online, and they have the list of the chocolates with the highest levels of lead and cadmium. I would, until the manufacturers of those, and I don't want to mention any manufacturers, until those manufacturers can tell us that they have switched their sources of cacao or figured out how to remove them to get them to lower, safer levels, I would stay away from those. But the good news is that the same report actually showed hot chocolates that are actually okay. And they fall within a safer range and have lower levels
Right.
of lead as well. And if you go and do your research, you'll find that there are brands that now have been tested, because everybody's onto this now, with lower levels of lead and cadmium. Now, chocolate contain what is chocolate? Chocolate's a confection, which is candy. All right. But the dark chocolate is made with lots of cacao. Cacao is a plant-based food. All right. Cacao is a seed pod that grows in tropical, subtropical areas, and it contains a natural chemical, bioactive, called proanthocyanidins. Don't worry about memorizing or spelling it. Just know that we figured out that there's some good stuff in there. And there's also dietary fiber in dark chocolate as well. Both of those are antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and they feed your gut microbiome. They're good prebiotics and for the gut microbiome, which makes our gut bacteria do some of that heavy lifting to lower inflammation. Now, one of my favorite ways, I want to say dark chocolate is the way to eat chocolate.
Yeah.
It's okay to eat dark chocolate. It's safe to eat dark chocolate if you choose ones that are known to have lower safe levels of background stuff. Just go look it up on Consumer
Yeah.
Report. And you know what? A great way that I enjoy dark chocolate. I'll take a little square of it, and I'll nibble on it with a cup of coffee, black
Mm,
coffee, chocolate. Like that's mocha, right? Dark chocolate and coffee will give you that nice flavor. I want to sort of send this message that of the ingredients that we've been talking about so far, there are delicious ways to integrate this into everyone's lives. This is not about stepping away. We did talk about foods to avoid, but I would prefer people to lean into the foods that you actually enjoy, that are good for your gut, that are lower, that can help lower inflammation, that you can also make an everyday part of your life. That's really important. I think going forward, into the new year, what we should all be trying to do is to take more control of our lives. Our health is not in the control of the health system. It's really in
Yeah.
our home. Healthcare is not done in a hospital or a doctor's office. Healthcare is done every single day in our home. And the foods that we like, if we can get behind those foods, if we enjoy those foods, if we savor those foods, and we really like the taste, then we don't have to worry about going on a diet that is really
Absolutely.
restrictive, that we can't stick with. So, you'll do it for 2 or 3 weeks or maybe a month, and then you fall off the wagon. Good, healthy food practices are something that should be second nature to
Hmm.
all of us. And that's, by the way, what they do in the blue zones and what they do in the Mediterranean, what they do in Asia, all those traditional diets that people have been eating for not just hundreds, but thousands of years have at the core of them these healthy plant-based ingredients, and not eating too much, and really savoring, enjoying your healthiest foods.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I think that's what it's really all about is creating a lifestyle, not having a diet plan. Like they call it, everything is called a diet, but I really think it should be a lifestyle. And that's why I think everybody should grab your books because you list all the foods that you should just either, add to your diet and then of course the ones to remove. We got to do both. So of course, everybody grab Dr. William Lee's books. It will be in the show notes. But also, I want to try to fit in maybe one or two more questions. So, uh, how do you define health?
Ah, I used to define it the way most people do, which is that, well, health is just the absence of disease. But that nothing could be further from the truth, because health is so much more than just the absence of disease. Health, to me, how I define it, is really uh, a it's the result. Our health is a result of living a fulfilling life, a vibrant life, that is informed by good, healthy choices, good choices that we actually make. Whether you're talking about food, whether you're talking about physical activity, exercise, movement, whether you're talking about sleep, how you sleep makes a big difference in terms of your health, and whether you can get better from diseases or whether you develop a disease. It's also about our emotional and mental state of being. That's what health is. It's all these convergent things. But to me, I like to develop. I like to kind of define it in terms of vibrancy and fulfillment. And if you just make health kind of like this concept that you have to work hard for, no pain, no gain, it's to me that's too hard a hill to climb. If you think about your health as something that is about fulfillment and vibrancy, and you can do it by making your own best choices that you can stick with, that bring you joy, then it's something that we can all get behind.
So perfect. I love it. Yeah, vibrancy. As I was talking about, it's like I feel vibrant. I feel like I have all this energy. I feel really healthy. But, I think that still we need to be really in tune with our body to notice when things are off. And if something is off, we get to make the decision to take ownership of our health and our life and really just learn these things and know the tools that we have just at our own disposal made by Mother Earth. So it's really beautiful that everything you share, I love it. Uh, if you were to just drop, let's say, three foods that you're like, these are the game changers that you should add into your lifestyle, not diet, today, this new year, what would be your three foods that you'd be like, these really are going to take you to the next level in your health, increase your longevity, reduce inflammation, lengthen your telomeres or whatever, all the things. Just three of your favorites.
Yeah. Okay. In my books, Eat to Beat Disease and Eat to Beat Your Diet, I actually have more than 300 different food choices. The three I would recommend, sort of as a response to your question, I would say coffee. All right, or tea, I suppose. Something is these common beverages that we drink. Not only they provide hydration, but they provide good health. They help our slow our cellular aging. They help our improve our metabolism, and they lower inflammation at the same time. And they're good for our gut. Second, I would say nuts.
Mm.
tree nuts. If you're not allergic, tree nuts, macadamias, pistachios, almonds, cashews, you find the one that you like, buy them plain, season them yourself so you're not looking at other people's chemicals being poured on them, and make them part of your snack. Good dietary fiber, healthy fats, good polyphenols, feed your gut microbiome, and a great source of protein as well. Protein is really important if and you want to get from the health best possible places. Now, some people are allergic to nuts. Legumes are a kind of a close relative. Also, good beans, white beans, red beans. So nuts and legumes would be the second category. And the third, I would say, and again, I'm sort of giving you something concrete, is dried fruits. If you can get them
Mm.
organic, especially. Dried fruits they're the tiny shrunken versions of the whole fruit. Now, obviously, if you can get whole fruits at a farmer's market and you buy them seasonally, that's what you should be doing. But I'm trying to tell people something easy to do. We're moving to we live in a society that's so complicated. We just want easy things to do. Dried fruits, especially organic ones, have the fruit flesh and the fruit peel, which both contain healthy things for our gut health that can be anti-inflammatory. Dried cherries, blueberries, dried cranberries, raisins. I mean, you name it. You can have your choices of them. Um, are actually really good ways to get dietary fiber and polyphenols into your gut. You want to make sure that you buy organic if you can, get more polyphenols, less chemicals. Now, by the way, think about what I just said you could do. You could combine dried fruits with nuts. Now you got your trail mix. Now I've compressed
Right.
three into one, two into one. Now you have it with a cup of coffee on your way out the door in the morning, a cup of Joe, and a handful of your trail mix, and now you started a healthy day. That's a super easy way to incorporate lots of complicated food as medicine principles into
Mm.
something anybody can actually do.
So good. Some of those I didn't expect, but I love that you mentioned coffee because I think that's one of the myths. I think a lot of people remove coffee from their diet, and I think for some people they are sensitive to it. I personally
Mm.
drink a low acid superfood coffee, so you could add even extra benefits. I put functional mushrooms in my coffee, so there. And of course, you don't want to add a bunch of sugar and cream and all the things, but there's a way to have healthy coffee. So I love that you share that. So I want to make sure to include this because you have a newsletter that I think people need to gravitate towards. I will drop in the show notes. If you could just briefly plug that in because I want people to get this as well, which is a free download.
Yeah, I mean, look, for years, people have been asking me, Dr. Lee, what do you recommend for X, Y, or Z? And so I decided to, rather than wait to answer that question when I'm asked, I would just give you 5 recommendations that I actually have every single week. It's called Dr. Lee's Friday 5. It's a free newsletter. Come to my website, go to my social. My handle is at Dr. William Lee, Li. Sign up for a free newsletter. Let me just go ahead and push 5 of my recommendations. Just read them, consider them. They're things that I've spent years either researching or things that I just really like. It could be food, it could be a supplier, it could be music, it could be things that bring me joy. I want to share the things that I think are helpful to my life. I want to share them with everybody. So, Dr. Lee's Friday 5 free newsletter, sign up.
So awesome. Thank you so much. I think all of us need more joy into our life in 2024. So thank you for that. And I will include all the links in the show notes. Everybody go grab his books. Wealth of information right here. And if you have not listened to his previous episode on Passion, Love, Pursuit podcast, highly recommend that as well as we talk about Eat to Beat Your Diet, which is about upping your metabolism and getting rid of unhealthy fat in your body. So thank you so much again. This has been an honor as always. Appreciate you.
My great pleasure. Thank you so much, Erica.
You're so welcome. Thank you.